if you pay me for 40 hours you get 40 hours.
Not sure if it belongs here, but here goes. I work a consulting engineer designing and implementing systems, network and server upgrades for organizations with worldwide locations. When initially hired by my company, the agreement was I would get paid for every hour I worked. Usually 40 hours a week when at the home site, up to 80 plus hours per week when at the customer's location. No overtime, just straight time as my position is exempt. While on site I would also be paid MI&E, lodging expenses, mileage expenses, and meal and incidental expenses. To include rental car, MI&E can add up to a couple thousand a week in places like Hawaii, Japan or England. Flash forward a few years and the company has been bought and merged a couple of times, and the new company decides that exempt employees are now salary and will not pay for any hours over 40 plus. Of course, no discussion of negotiating a new rate due to the change in working conditions. This reduces my annual compensation by over 20 kelvins per year, as I would be at a customer's site for 4 to 6 months a year. I walk into the boss's office to discuss. He says nothing to discuss. Next time I am planning for a site. The plan is for me and my team to work 40 hours a week, meaning an additional 3 weeks on site. Neither the customer nor my boss were happy. The additional 3 weeks added over 50 kelvins in MI&E to the estimate, because it isn't just me that does the work, and the total number of chargeable hours is the same if we are on site 4 weeks or 7 weeks.
Sorry, if you only pay me for 40 hours I only work 40 hours. A couple of VPs were quickly brought into the conversation and the new policy was quickly modified. When at a customer site we now get paid for every hour we work.
I've had managers in the past try to get me to work overtime without additional pay. My response is always, if it's important enough for me to work overtime to do it, it's important enough for you to pay me extra.
I quit a 10-year job because of this. Should have left after 5, but
good for you. They cannot make you work without pay, and if they set the max limit at 40 hours, then you stick to the 40. At my job, we are limited to 8 hours max daily, so everyone stops working and leaves after 8 hours.
The last job I worked, we were all exempt, and there was this unwritten contest to see who could stay the longest at work. People coming in at 6 a.m. and staying until 6 p.m. I'm a fast worker. My boss was constantly handing me one-off projects because I would power through them. I also am a firm believer in sticking to my scheduled hours. So I'd come in every day at 9 to 9:30 a.m. and left at 6 p.m. every day. The lady that sat next to me got increasingly upset and hostile at my failure to work long hours. Like the rest of them, she hit the roof at the end of the year when I got the highest evaluation and largest bonus. She tried to lodge a complaint with the boss. When she came at me in a staff meeting with a passive-aggressive, "Some of us don't have to work as much as others," I laughed and told her, "Some of us can get our work done in 8 hours. Some of us can get your work and our work done in 8 hours. Who's the slacker here?" Quote.
Never work one more minute than they are willing to pay you for. And if you can't get your assigned work done unless you spend hours of unpaid time every day, you need a new job, because they are either overloading you with work or you suck at your job.
I had the exact thing happen to me. Our small consulting company got bought by a huge conglomerate. They went crazy when they saw all the OTR people were racking up. We tried to explain that OT is good because we bill the customer for each hour we work. Our new manager said that as salaried employees we should be willing to work OT for free. You can imagine how well that went over. I'd like to say that after a few months of declining revenue the manager was sacked. Instead, he got an award for reducing OT and was transferred to a completely different division in our little business was closed. It wasn't a total loss. One of the perks of working for this conglomerate was the discount on home appliances. I bought a new washer and dryer.
What's the saying? F/KU, pay me.
I work in the military, so we don't really get compensated for working overtime. Night check tends to work way later. Usually a 8-hour shift stretches to 10. On bad days 12. But night check is a do what needs to be done. Then we go home shift. I.e., if everyone's done at 8 p.m., we go home 4 hours early. It never makes up for how often or how long we stay late, but it's still nice. And this is also how it went while we were out on deployment. That is, until day check found out we occasionally leave early. Despite them leaving early every Friday, they complained that occasionally we leave early, despite more often than not staying late. We even stayed super late one day looking for a tool that the day checker making the fuss took home with him. So the night check boss was like, "Aight, if we can't leave early, we won't stay late." A week of us leaving at exactly 12:30 every night, regardless of if the work was complete or not. Sure, there was one day we all sat around for about 3 hours doing fuck all, but it was worth it to make day check have to clean up after us rather than the other way around. At a couple of plants we had hourly specialists that got like maybe $1 to $2 more than the techs. But these people were doing the work of managers, in addition to their regular work of essentially being a plant engineer. With extra projects always assigned, they were working OT and did well overall. Everyone they tried to promote, then the salary would be lower than what they made with OT. But doing the same job, company just wanted out of the OT. Turned down every time. The new job title, doing the same work, was not worth a pay cut. The only advantage was promotion opportunities. But these guys were not interested in that. Moving, etc.
So many salaried jobs to this. I recently left one that put a 40-hour work week in the offer letter, so when they asked me to stay late I was already on my way home. You can't pay me for 40 hours then make me work 50. I'm not going to do that.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I love how a lot of stories here is basically the same as raising kids. If they don't listen, then make them deal with the consequences.
This reduces my annual compensation by over 20 kelvins per year. Google for constructive dismissal. Shrinking your compensation without your agreement can be taken as firing. And you can collect unemployment for it. Think about it. To make an extreme example, I hire you as an engineer with an agreed rate of say $80 per hour. I then decide I don't want you anymore, but I don't want to fire you. So I reduce your pay to the federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour and never schedule you for any jobs. I then sit back and wait for you to quit. Which you of course will. That's great for me. I never have to fire anyone and pay unemployment. I just shrink their pay to near zero. Thus, constructive dismissal is a thing. If I did that, you can argue that you're effectively fired and collect unemployment. Same thing often applies if your compensation is reduced. At my first job as a computer programmer, I had an incident where someone from a different department complained to my supervisor because I left before she did. I clocked out at the same time I always did. The issue was I had to walk past this department to the time clock. Her complaint was that her department still had work to do and it wasn't fair that I got to leave on time, even though my work was done for the day. I told my supervisor that's too bad, but if my work is done, I'll be leaving. Even though I was hourly, I did not care at all to spend any more time at work even if I was paid for it, so when my shift ended, I left for the day. Pennywise, pound foolish. They really miss their slaves. There was an interval just before all the boomers really got too old to work. And we're still staying in jobs longer than previous generations due to healthcare advances. Where there were just a lot fucking less jobs than people wanting them. Now, not so much. But these fuckos just don't want to believe that the happy time. When you could make people dance a jig then lick your crusty taint while saying please sire may I have some more, just to stay in a job. Any job. Are over. Managers just want you to simply wave the tech wand. So magic gets it done. Story wand has flat batteries. It's gonna take hourly to fix. Had that happen to me too. Went fork hourly to salary after a raise and I did my time. 40 hours in and out. One day my manager tells me that I'm not pulling my weight, and I was expected to work 45 hours a week. At least I didn't say anything at the time, but man, I wish I did. I also didn't work over 40 hours after that conversation. Tears of joy. But if you're not going to pay me for those 5 hours, I'm not doing it. Also, if it's not in my contract to work set hours, I'm not doing my 40 and getting the heck out of there. Same thing happened to my husband. He's a recruiter on salary and his quota is to hire enough people to cover his salary x3. He knows how to time manage and is good at his job. So he usually works from home 7 to 3 with no real lunch and still manages to get x45 his salary. They tried making him work weekends because they had an important project and many other recruiters weren't meeting their quotas. He had to meet with the CEO because he refused. He basically told them, you either change my contract and pay me more to get more work from me, or you can fire me if you don't my work ethic because I'm meeting all my work expectations in more. They didn't do either, and he didn't have to work weekends when his colleagues had to. You should post this on our anti-work. Exactly. Slavery has been illegal for a long time.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.